Uh, hey guys, welcome back to the Ant Analysis. Today we're going to cover the first round of the NFL draft that just happened. I'll be totally honest, I didn't watch any college football this last year, so I didn't really read up on how well any of these guys are supposed to be this year, outside of just what the draft analysis has for them. So I'm more or less just going to kind of go over who everybody picked and if that kind of fits what the team needed and if there's any surprises. Where I'm going to kind of cover if teams took players who kind of were outside of what they were looking for initially or what they were projected to take in today's first round. So, all right, well, let's hop right into it then. The Titans had the first overall pick, and they selected kind of who everyone thought they were going to pick, quarterback Cam Ward. I know their plan for him is to have him jump in, I think, to start right away, really take over for Will Levis and see if they can move on from that, just to see if they can replicate kind of what Jayden Daniels did last year with Washington. The second overall pick belonged to Cleveland, and they actually traded down with Jacksonville. So Jacksonville selected wide receiver and cornerback Travis Hunter out of Colorado. Just a very versatile player. I know that he has openly said that he hopes and expects to play both ways. So we'll see how Jacksonville really completes that for him. I think it'd be awesome to see somebody actually play both sides of the ball, since Deion Sanders, I think, was one of the last players to do so on a consistent basis, that is. The Giants hold the third overall pick. They picked an edge rusher, Abdul Carter. That was indeed one of their needs, I think, which is a good pickup for them. They really need to bolster that defense. The fourth overall pick belongs to the Patriots, and they picked, as expected, an offensive tackle in Will Campbell out of LSU. I think it's a good pick for them. Definitely somebody to help out Drake May going forward. New England is definitely going to have to make sure that they fit him in right away, especially picking this high for a tackle. I think they're expecting, they have a pretty high ceiling, high expectations for him right out the gate. So hopefully he can perform as anticipated for them. At the 5 spot is Cleveland's pick. Since they, like I said, they traded down with Jacksonville. They picked up defensive tackle Mason Graham out of Michigan. This is definitely something they were looking to grab, somebody to play across from Myles Garrett. So I think he should be a nice addition, and probably see him get some quality starting time really early in the season. The Raiders have the 6th overall pick. They picked Ashton Jeanty. This is a really star-studded running back, which is good for them because the Raiders didn't really have anybody last year that was really a clear-cut star for them. They made a couple of moves, but they definitely need somebody to step into that RB1 role after Josh Jacobs left in free agency last year. The Jets have the 7th overall pick, and they picked offensive tackle, and I'm going to apologize. I'm terrible at pronunciation here. So, but they picked an offensive tackle, Armand Mambu, out of Missouri. I think with the Jets kind of rebuilding and having Justin Fields back there, quarterback, offensive line was definitely something they needed to work on. And they were in a pretty prime position to get a really good player here at the 7th spot. So this should be a huge addition for them and allow them to really be productive on the front 4 or front 5 there. Hopefully to start the year out too. So hopefully we can see Justin Fields kind of thrive behind that new addition. Carolina had the 8th pick. They picked up wide receiver Teteroa McMillan. I hope I said that kind of close. I think it's a pretty good position pickup for them. It wasn't one of their immediate needs, I don't think, but I wasn't too surprised by that pick, as they definitely need somebody to kind of fill in there with Thielen being up there in age, and somebody to play across from Xavier Legette, especially with the success that Bryce Young had at the end of the season last year. I think getting a big receiver like McMillan, who's 6'4", will be a nice addition for them, and hopefully can allow Young to continue success from last year, really put Carolina in a position to succeed this year. The Saints picked offensive tackle Kelvin Banks Jr. at number 9. This was definitely the right addition for them, especially with the uncertainty who they're going to have a quarterback this next year. Chicago had the 10th overall pick this year. Their pick was the kind of the surprising one, at least to start the draft out with. They picked up a tight end, Colston Loveland. I don't think anyone was really expecting that kind of move. I think everyone was thinking Chicago was going to try and go running back or D-line, especially with how they bolstered their offense, and I didn't think they were really going to try and pick up a pass-catching receiver, especially when they have a really good tight end in Cole Kmet. So hopefully Loveland can really produce for him behind Kmet, and hopefully that Chicago isn't really kicking themselves for that one. But that was, I think, the first surprising pick of the draft. San Francisco picked right after them at 11. They picked up an edge rusher, Michael Williams, which is definitely a good addition for them, especially for how hard they're hitting free agency, and they let a couple people go. So I think them starting over kind of on the defensive side of the football is, I think, the right move for them, and we'll kind of see what they do going forward in with the rest of their picks. The 12th pick belongs to Dallas. They picked up a guard in Tyler Booker. I think this will be a nice addition for them. Help Dak Prescott really settle in again. Really stand in there and make decisions from the pocket instead of having to scramble. See if they can really kind of get their offense going with CeeDee Lamb. I think everyone was expecting them to take a wide receiver or a running back, just kind of a skill position on the offensive side of the football. But I think bolstering their offensive line was a decent move for them. Miami picked at 13, and they picked defensive tackle Kenneth Grant. Their defensive line definitely needed some work this year. I personally was hoping to see them pick an offensive lineman, a tackle or a guard, to really help Tua out. So I think that going forward with the rest of the draft, they'll kind of focus more on that. But I think this is a pretty decent move for them to really kind of get them on the right track on the defensive side of the football, at least this year. Indianapolis held the 14th overall pick, and with that they chose tight end Tyler Warren. And tight end was definitely one of the holes that they had in their offense this last season, so it's nice to see them address something really early on to start with. Atlanta picked Jalen Walker at the 15th spot, an edge rusher from Georgia. He'll definitely help out their pass rush and their defense, which is something they really had a problem with this last year. And it's definitely their top need, so it's nice to see them address that with their middle of their first round pick. So it should see some immediate improvements, especially to start the year out. Arizona held the 16th pick. With that, they picked defensive tackle Walter Nolan. Their defensive line was something I think they needed to address. I thought that was something they would pick a little bit later, maybe in the second or third round. I thought they would go offensive line to start with, but I think this is still a good addition for them, and hopefully it will really help their interior and the defense really step up and slow the rush game down for them. Cincinnati with the 17th pick chose Shamar Stewart, an edge rusher out of Texas A&M. This was definitely one of their problem areas on defense. Trey Hendrickson, with his contract negotiations kind of up in the air at the moment, this is definitely a move that Cincinnati needed to make, just to make sure that they have someone in this spot if Hendrickson does end up getting traded or moving on from the team, either be the rest of this or before the season starts or at the end of next year. So for them to choose an edge rusher first round was definitely the move that they needed to make. Seattle selected Gray Zabel, a guard out of NDSU, at the 18th overall spot. This is definitely the move they needed to make, especially bringing in Sam Darnold, who's a very pocket-heavy quarterback. Making sure that Seattle builds a good offensive line in front of him so he can stand in there and make the right decisions to give him the best chance to succeed, I think was the right move for them at this spot. Tampa Bay at the 19th spot picked Emeka Egbuka, a wide receiver out of Ohio State. Ohio State's really had some productive wide receivers in the past, so I think this is a good pick for them. Someone to play alongside Mike Evans will be really productive for them, I hope. And I think them bringing in somebody young to really learn behind Evans is a good decision for them. So he's got a good top end speed and should really get some separation, which would be really good for, I think, the whole team. Give Evans some space, Godwin's a little bit more room to work with, and Baker, just another reliable target to hit. The Broncos with the 20th pick select cornerback Jahdae Barron. So they're really just trying to bolster the defense. I know a lot of people were looking at Denver to really try and pick a wide receiver here first to help Bo Nix improve on this next season, but I honestly think this is a nice addition for them. Bo Nix really still has some time to grow and kind of fit in there as a starter. Really take some pressure off of him. Pittsburgh picked a defensive tackle, Derek Harmon, at the 21st overall pick. I think a lot of people were looking to see if Pittsburgh would draft a quarterback or a running back here. I think defensive tackle is a nice addition for them, just for the fact that their defense has really been their bread and butter for quite some time now, especially under Mike Tomlin. So if they can keep their defense running well, I think it'll be a good start for them, and they can kind of figure out the quarterback position maybe in the second or third round. The 22nd pick belonged to the Chargers, where they took Omarion Hampton, who is really just a workhorse back. He'll pair very nicely with Najee Harris in Jim Harbaugh's offense, especially when Harbaugh was in Michigan. They really had a run-heavy approach and just some old-school football, just some ground and pound. And so I think them adding him a running back here at this spot was a good choice for them. The Packers selected a wide receiver for the first time in 22 years at the 23 spot in the first round. Matthew, kind of ironic, they selected Matthew Golden out of Texas. Golden's supposed to have some really high top-end speed, so really create some separation. He's not overly tall, but if he can stretch the field really nice, I think that'll be a good option for Jordan Love. And hopefully he can really step into a true wide receiver one role and really kind of lead the Packers there, and hopefully get a nice deep playoff run for them. The Vikings selected guard Donovan Jackson at the 24 spot. They really needed to bolster their offensive line over this last year. They did make a couple of moves, but Sam Darnold was under a lot of duress, and now with essentially a rookie coming in with J.J. McCarthy, I think they'll definitely need to make sure that they can protect him really well to allow him to kind of flourish and develop under Kevin O'Connell. Houston held the 25th overall pick, which they ended up actually trading to the Giants, where the Giants drafted Jackson Dart, which does answer some of the questions of who's planning to be the quarterback of the future for them. With the Giants drafting an edge rusher earlier, I think them trading back up into the first round to get a quarterback here is a good move for them. And we'll see if Jackson Dart will be able to be productive on the NFL level. The Rams held the 26th overall pick, which they traded out of to Atlanta, where Atlanta selected another edge rusher in James Pierce Jr. So them really kind of going all in on the defensive side of the football to start the new year is I think a good sign for them. They're trying to take steps in the right direction to hopefully kind of turn the franchise around since the last couple of years. The Ravens selected Malachi Starks at the 27th spot, safety out of Georgia. Safety was definitely one of the things that Baltimore needed to kind of work on going into this year. And Baltimore's always been known for kind of having that star safety cornerback role. So I think Starks stepping into this, he should get a lot of playing time as a rookie this year and really develop and keep Baltimore's defense alive. Detroit, with the 28th overall pick, selected defensive tackle Talik Williams out of Ohio State. It was a good pick for them to really add some depth on their defensive line, especially due to all the injuries that they had last year, which is kind of devastating to see, especially come the end of the year. So hopefully he can contribute some solid minutes and some solid playing time for them, and really add some nice quality depth, and especially for someone to play alongside Aiden Hutchinson along that backside. So Washington at the 29th spot picked offensive tackle Josh Connolly Jr. I think it was a nice addition for them. It wasn't really something that they needed to pick up. They have more needs on defense, but I think for this being a defensive-heavy draft class, they should be fine. They should be fine picking up somebody in later rounds. I think they picked up an offensive tackle to really help Jaden Daniels, just to give him a little more protection. He really thrived last year, especially as a rookie. So I think them trying to just help him out in any way that they can, especially early on, is a nice decision for them. Buffalo, their biggest need at the 30th spot was cornerback, and they did fill that with Maxwell Hairston, cornerback out of Kentucky. Hairston's supposed to be a really quick and long corner, so it'll be a really nice addition for them, just for someone to really shore up anything over the top for them. He'll get to play alongside Tre'Davious White, which I think will be a really nice kind of mentor for him to really help him kind of succeed in the league, especially in Buffalo. Kansas City held the 31st overall pick, which they actually traded to Philadelphia, and Philadelphia drafted a linebacker, Jahad Campbell, out of Alabama. I think it's a decent pickup for them. The only things that Philly really had to work on was just a little bit on their defense. They lost a couple of pieces, so nothing really major glaring on their end. Kansas City then ended up taking the 32nd overall pick, which they used to draft offensive tackle Josh Simmons. I think that was a decent pickup for them. That was a need that Kansas City needed to address this offseason, especially for how much Mahomes ended up scrambling last year. It was really kind of detrimental for them. We kind of saw Kansas City take a step backwards because of their offensive line play, so I think him stepping in here should be a really nice addition for them. That's how the first round went. I think most of the teams did pretty decent or filled kind of needs that they were looking for. Like I said, the only really surprising pick was Chicago's, taking a tight end that early, especially since they didn't really need anyone at that position for them. But overall, it was a pretty good draft. Like I said, Green Bay picking a wide receiver. Was the first skill position player they've picked in 24 years, or since 2002. So it was nice to see them step away from their usual tradition of picking kind of lines or defense there. And so hopefully Golden can really step into a nice role there. But that's the recap for round one. That's all I've got for today, guys. That's the Ant Analysis, and we'll see you next time.